Counting Kit and Larry, there's been a total of 76 brawlers in the history of Brawl Stars, and being the YouTuber I am, I wanted to see out of these, which brawler has been the strongest in Brawl Stars history. To do this, I spent an unhealthy amount of time watching every single one of Kyrus's tier lists and ranking their performance on a huge spreadsheet, and you will not believe who number 1 is. Make sure to subscribe so you can watch me steal more of other creators' content. And here is the worst brawler in the history of Brawl Stars. Believe it or not, the brawler who actually got last place got a whopping 0 points on my point system, which means they got F tier in every single tier list, and that brawler is Doug. Of course, Doug's just never been good, so do better. He also shares the name with my dog, so do better, please. So actually getting 3 points, which is 3 more than Doug, is Larry, which is really funny because Larry isn't even out at the time of recording this. The newest tier list that Kyrus made a prediction for both Kit and Larry, the 2 newest brawlers. Larry was put in A tier, which awards him 3 points, and Kit was put at the very top of S tier, which awards them 6. I should explain how the scoring system works right now, because I feel like you guys are going to be asking a lot in the comments, and I may as well explain how I got my different numbers. So, each tier has a point awarded to it. Me and Jarjack thought about it for a bit. 0 points is F tier, 1 point is D tier, C tier, D tier, whatever he uses, I've forgotten. 2 points for B tier, 3 points for A tier, 5 points for S tier, and if they're the very top of the tier list, they get 6 points. A special awarded point for being really broken in that update. And, yeah, Larry only got 3 points because he only got 1 A tier placement. We were originally thinking of doing it based on percentages, so every single brawler could have a fair chance. But that means a brawler that's only been out 2 updates but has had S tier in both is pretty much likely to beat a brawler who's had like an F tier but like a bunch of A tier placements, because the percentages are just automatically going to favour the newer brawlers, and we're looking for the best one of all time. But with that said, let's keep on going with the list. Hank, Mika and Kit were awarded 3, 5 and 6 points respectively, which makes sense since they're all new. They don't really have the chance to get as much points as the older brawlers, and that kind of continues with the trend. Going down the list, we have Pearl, Charlie, Chuck, Cordelis, Edgar, which is a real surprise, Chester, Maisie, Willow, Mandy, Artie and Buster. Buster is bringing up the rear. I just like saying it like that. Buster. The next 5 brawlers starting at 60th was Sam, Gray, Buzz, Gus and Otis, which all kind of made sense because they're all quite new. They're all Brawl Pass brawlers except for Gray and Gus, and they were all in the last year, which makes sense for them to be further down. So this was the point in which I managed to kind of get not bored of editing, but to a kind of point where I can just show you the graph. And obviously the last brawler we showed was Otis being on 56th place, but there's a kind of point where there's not that much going on. The only real interesting point is 55 with Meg, because Meg had the whole Meg-pocalypse thing, which put her quite high for a while. But other than that, most of these brawlers are kind of just boring and new. Up to a certain point, it goes Grom, which hasn't really been surprising, Jackie, Ash, Lola, Eve, Janet, Amber, Griff, Gale, Bonnie, Byron, Fang, Lou, and Frank. These brawlers all made a lot of sense, going down to 40th place. There wasn't really much to talk about here, so I just decided I would sum it all up. So there you go. So moving on to almost halfway down the list at 40th, we actually have quite an interesting lot. We have Shelly and Nanny. Shelly obviously has been really strong, as well as Nanny right now. And it's just funny because on the really early side of it, up till basically the end, Shelly was getting 0 points every round. And then the entire final third of the list gave her all her points. Same with Nanny. Nanny only got 1 or 2 up to that point, and then the new updates gave her loads, because she's really good. I think she got 2 6-point placements. I'm not quite sure though. But yeah, rolling through another 20 on the list, we have got number 38 to 20. And going through them quick fire, starting with Primo, we've got Primo, Dynamite, Squeak, Ruffs, Surge, Jesse, Mr. P, 8-Bit, Tick, Ems, BB, Killer, Bell, Bull, Stu, Sprout, Colt, Mortis, B. And I'm going to get an editing that I'm not going to add the stuff because I am lazy to add all the brawlers there. Let's just move on. They're kind of like the mid ones. I've just got to kind of show everyone, so your favourite brawlers shown, if you get what I mean. But we're going to go through the top 20. So guys, moving on to the top 20 where I can talk about these ones in a bit more detail. We have Penny and Tara both tying for 19th place. Penny kind of makes sense because she's had a lot of down moments, but with her rework she was very dominant in the meta for like 6 months, so it does make sense. And with Tara, obviously both of them have been in the base game. They are very kind of consistent. She's been A tier quite a lot. She also has her moments being low down, so it makes sense she's not number 1, but it does make sense for her. Moving down even more, we have got tie for 17th as well between Nita and Sandy. Sandy's kind of a surprise because obviously they're not from the very start of the game, but it does make sense because Sandy's never really been too bad. Always like a good A to B tier option, which means since they've been out for a good while, it makes sense for them to be quite high. As well as Nita. Nita was probably the strongest brawler in beta in my opinion, being able to spawn multiple bears at one point, so that makes a lot of sense for her to be up here, and I just think that makes sense. Moving down even more, we have got 15th, which is Rosa. Rosa is very well known for being one of the strongest brawlers in the history of the game because she was just basically invincible, but since then she kind of just declined. But being one of the first brawlers to be added after global release, it kind of makes sense that she's been consistently up high. Still being in the meta now, it just makes sense that she's never really like fluctuated too low to be put further down on the list. Moving down again, we have got 14th place, which is probably the most surprising person on this list, and it is Max. Max has been a very weird brawler to put on this list overall because she was obviously released in 2020, which is just very odd for a brawler to be this high up, but she's never really been bad. I think her lowest has probably been D tier like once. She's never been F tier and she's always been consistently somewhat high, so it does make sense. Moving on to 13, 12 and 11, we have got Bo, Piper and Poco. Bo kind of surprises me because he's just kind of never been top tier. He's never had a number 1 placement or anything unlike the other two, but it kind of makes sense if you think about it. Poco and Piper on the other hand do make a lot of sense. They've had their moments, especially in beta, being very very strong. Piper's obviously very strong now and Poco's only just fallen off for the first time ever really, so with them it makes sense for them to be so high as well. Moving on to the top 10, the start of the end. The first brawler to be on the top 10 is the second brawler that's considered to be the best of all time, even though I think Kit is the best brawler of all time. And it is Leon. Leon obviously was extremely busted on release, being able to basically go right up to you without being seen and just doing insane damage for what a brawler could do at the time. Basically had no counters, and since then obviously had a lot of changes and nerfs and stuff like that, but he's never fallen off. He's always been somewhere in the A tier or the B tier, and sometimes even gets to S tier if he wants to. Next we have got Rico in 9th place. Rico makes a lot of sense because he's probably the definition of consistent in Brawl Stars. If I look at his things, it literally says 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, 2 points. You get the idea. 3 points for like 10 things, 5 points, 1 point, 3 points for like another 10 things. Like his points never really go that low. He's always been A tier or like better, so congrats to Rico for making it to number 9. Daryl is 8th, which you'll be happy to know. Daryl obviously was extremely busted on release, being able to basically roll across the entire map, and being able to go through water before Eve. That was obviously strong in a way, but like he hasn't really ever been bad. Again, he's fallen off in comparison to where he used to be, but he's definitely never been bad, so again it makes sense. 7th place is Barley. Barley is a very very weird brawler because Barley's always been good. He was so busted on heist on release, and he was very good in other modes, but like he's been replaceable, but not to the point where he's ever fallen off. He's always been at least B tier. He's mainly A tier, but other brawlers are tended to be more focused on. He's never left the top. He's always just kind of forgotten about, which I think made him so high. Going in the tie 6th place with 89 points is Jean and Carl. They've both had their moments absolutely breaking the game. Jean quite literally broke the game at one point, but Carl has had a devastating super. It was very hard to counter at first, until a lot of stun brawls came into the game, but he had his moments of being really meta. Gene's never fallen off. He's always been a really good to go pick in gem grab. So has Carl. But yeah, it makes sense for them. But moving on to the top 4, we have Charjack's main and probably the brawler he would simp for, which is Pam. Pam is so unexpected to be this high. I probably lied earlier saying that what's the name were the most unexpected one, Max, because Pam just, you wouldn't expect Pam to be so high. When's Pam ever been like noticeably good? But apparently, according to this, she's always been A tier or S tier. She's basically never gone down. She's had a whopping 94 points on Kairos' tier list in total for my scoring system, which is insane. But moving on to the top 3. If you've got this far, subscribe and comment down below who you think will be number 1, because we're about to get to it. And in third, with 99 points, is Brock. Brock literally never been bad. He's always had a way to use his rockets effectively, and he's just literally been the best. It makes so much sense for him to be up there. Moving on to second, losing by 10 points, gaining 103 overall, is Crow. A legendary, wouldn't you know? And basically being S tier all the time. Only losing S tier a few updates and getting A tier or B tier. He's never been bad. Being able to poison and assassinate how he does it is just so OP, but not as good as our number 1, who was Spike.